वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुता पदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम्
जयो जयो गोरा चांदी आरती कुशोभा शिव जयो चाँदे आरती कुशोभा जानवी तटवने जगमानलोभा रेड करता है सेवा दक्षिण निताई चाँद मामे गदादारा निकटे अद्वैत वस छत्रधारा बाबा से घोरा चाँद रत्न सिंह साने बसे आरती करेन ब्रह्मा आदि देवगणे किम नरा हरे आदि करे कमर ढुलाया संजयामो कुंद भासो गोचादि गाया शिवा शंकर बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करो ताला शंको माधुरामृ गंगा बाजे पराम रसाला मधुर 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 बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे मधुर शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंका माधुर 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 बाजे मधुर माधुर 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 बाजे बहु कोटि चंद जिने वदानवु ज्वाला बहु कोटि गाला देश वनामाला करे झलमाला शिवा शिवा शुकना सदा प्रेमे गद गदा शुकना गुरबा कातीवे नोदात के गोरार संपादा शिवा जायो हो जया गोरा चांदे आरती को शोभा जयो जानवी तटवने जगा मन लोभा जानवी तटवने जगा मन लोभा जाना मान लोभा जग जगा जाना माना लोभा गौरांगे रारते का शोभा Jagajana Manaloba Gora. Gorangera rate kosoba Jagajana Manaloba. Itai Gor Hariba 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 Itai Gor Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namah. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Punyavadi Pachato Rishatarine Namaste. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna. Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Chaitanya Prabhu. Bola Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Bol chant everyone Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Bol सब गाइए केशव बोला हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare बोला हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा हर बोल गाइए सर बोला हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 हो जाओ Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 ए बोला हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 बोला हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Govinda Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Bolo Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Adesha Bola Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Bola Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Guru Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Bola Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Bola Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Bola Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Radha Ramana Hare Govinda Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai. Bolo Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Gaura Hari. Bolo Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana. Jai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari. Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hare Jai Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jai Jagannath Swami Jaya Jagannath Jai Jagannath Swami Bolo Jai Jagannath Jai Jagannath Jai Jagannath Swami Jai Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jai Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Baladeva Jai Subhadra Jai Baladeva Jaya Subhadra जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे ओ जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे जगन्नाथ स्वामी पथगामी बोला जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे जगन्नाथ स्वामी जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे जगन्नाथ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे बोला हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे बोला हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय नित्य गौर सुंदर जय नित्य गौर सुंदर जय नित्य गौर सुंदर जय राधा माधव राधे राधे जय जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय बोलो जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरे बोल हरे बोल नित्य गौर नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरे बोल नित्य गौर जय जय प्रभुपाद निताय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल बोले जय ओम इष्टवाद परम परिव्राज अष्टोत्तर शेर श्रीमद दीवान भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद महाराज की जय। देव नित्य लीला प्रवेश भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती प्रभुपाद महाराज की जय। गुरु परंपरा की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णविंद की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास प्रेम से गौ जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोधन की जय। श्री नवदीप माया प्रधान की जय। मथुरा श्री द्वारका श्री अयोध्यापुरी धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथ धाम की जय। भगवान जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा देवी श्री सुदन चक्र की जय। श्री श्री राधा माधवी की जय। श्री गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। जय ताय गुण ताय गौर सुंदर की जय। गंगा माँ यमुना माँ की जय। वृंद जय भक्त देव की जय। समस्त भक्त वृंद की जय। हरिनाम संयज्ञ की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। इस्कॉन बाल्टीमोर यात्रा की जय। निता 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 गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories assembled with Hari. All glories assembled with Hari. All glories assembled with Hari. All glory, all Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. All Toshani, Toshani, she want, Toshani, Toshani, you want to pray? Let's say prayers.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So since today is Mother's Day, I would like to make a small change. All the announcement been done by the fathers, past all the time, will be done by mother. So let's welcome Mataji. She will be making the announcement today.
Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome to our Sunday Love Feast. How are you all feeling after yesterday's ecstatic program of Jagannath Snan Yatra? Say a big Hari Bol. Okay, so welcome to ISKCON Baltimore, New Kulina Dham, the board of Shri Shri Radha Madhav, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai, Nitai Gaur Sundar, and our dear Srila Prabhupada. Today we don't have any sponsors, so if anyone would like to sponsor Sunday Feast, please contact Sham Prabhu or Adhukshaja Prabhu. Also, we have so many festivals coming up this summer. Especially our next festival is, who can tell? Narshing Chaturdashi, and it is on what day? May 22nd. So please do come and participate in this auspicious festival of Narshing Dev. We are also doing a Homa, and we will request those who have not signed up, please sign up for our Narshing Homa program. Hare Krishna. And the other festival is Rath Yatra. So today we had a very ecstatic Harinam, and we invited so many of our friends at Inner Harbor for our Jagannath Rath Yatra festival, and it is something we wait for the whole year. So please do come for our Rath Yatra. And we also would like to tell all the parents that we have a very vibrant Sunday school for age 4 till 15. We have different classes, and it is ISKCON policy that children who are under 12, they should be supervised by the parents all the time. If your kids won't like to go to the Sunday school, we'll request them. You can take, and if either they can stay here upstairs or they can go downstairs. We have a big basement. And then we are waiting for our today's speaker. So yeah, so our today's speaker is, anyone knows? Yeah, His Grace Anuttama Prabhu. He is Srila Prabhupada disciple, and we are very, very fortunate today to take his association. He's our GBC, Governing Body Commissioner. He is in ISKCON for more than 50 years, and he is also our Global Director of Communications. So let's give a big round of applause to Anuttama Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yeah, so we can have some kirtan. Anyone would like to lead? Any of the children? Yeah, meanwhile we'll join. But is here? Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nice to visit her after a few months. You expect the kids to learn how to like do bhajan better? It's nice to see the parents are also learning. Can you go down here? I think it'll do that. What do you think? I don't know. It's so good. We did something before. Maybe we used this one before. I don't remember. You can try it. You can come a little closer. COVID days are over, huh? Yeah. It's loud too. I don't think it'll stay up there. That's good. Yeah, it's good. Jayurata Madhava Kunjabiyahari Jayurata Madhava Kunjabiyahari Gopi Janabalava Girvadari Gopi Janabalava Girvadari Yasodhanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayurata Madhava Kundabiyani Jayurata Madhava Kunjabiyahari Gopijana Balava Girivardhani. Gopijana Balava Girivardhani. Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jayurada Madhava Kundaviyani. Jayurada Madhava Kundaviyani. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravrajikacharya Asto Tarasada Shri Shriman. His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavadindi Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Charani Namaste Shisham Thursday. So sorry, just a few minutes later I was at the Potomac Temple. There was an event I guess we had similar here on Wednesday honoring His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who passed away recently. I'll be talking about him a little bit later on, but I was at Potomac and a little slow coming up here, so but it's nice to be here with everyone. I was going to read tonight from a well-known verse, from the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I'll say a line. If you know it, you can repeat it. It's well-known. I think these 3 brahmacharis will know. Yes, they look very fulgent, which means they know a lot of verses, right? Okay. Yad yada charati shrestas. Okay, we got 2 out of 3 up here. That's why they sat in the front, so the rest you couldn't see. But I can see. 2 out of 3 is pretty good. Yad yada charati shrestas. Tattadeva tarojanaha. Sayat paramanam kurute. Lokastad anuvartate. Translation, this is 321, chapter Karma Yoga. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. Please repeat. Whatever action a great man performs, or a great person, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. People in general always require a leader who can teach the public by practical behavior. A leader cannot teach the public to stop smoking if he himself smokes. Lord Chaitanya said that a teacher should behave properly before he begins teaching. One who teaches in that way is called acharya, or the ideal teacher. Therefore, a teacher must follow the principles of Shastra, Scripture, to teach the common man. The teacher cannot manufacture rules against the principles of revealed Scriptures. The revealed Scriptures, like Manu Samhita and similar others, are considered the standard books to be followed by human society. Thus, the leader's teaching should be based on principles of such standard Shastras. One who desires to improve himself must follow the standard rules as they are practiced by the great teachers. The Srimad Bhagavatam also affirms that one should follow in the footsteps of great devotees and that is the way of progress on the path of spiritual realization. Repeat that sentence. The Srimad Bhagavatam also affirms that one should follow in the footsteps of great devotees, and that is the way of progress on the path of spiritual realization. The king, or the executive head of a state, the father, and the school teacher are all considered to be natural leaders of the innocent people in general. All such natural leaders have a great responsibility to their dependents. Therefore, they must be conversant with standard books of moral and spiritual codes. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Bicharine Nirvasesha Shunyavadi Pastatari Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So first I want to thank the mothers here. This is Mother's Day. All of you that have a mother or a wife, did you get some flowers today? Or did you cook today? Did you clean the house today? Did you at least say Happy Mother's Day today? One reason I was late, I wasn't a very safe driver. I was sending Mother's Day wishes, trying to do it with my voice-activated phone on the way up here. So sometimes devotees, we think that when we become devotees, we kind of leave our ordinary responsibilities behind. But this verse is talking about how actually we increase our responsibilities. We don't give up responsibility, we increase responsibility. But we do it in a spiritualized way. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers here and other ladies. Of course, in our culture, we're trained we should try to see all the ladies as mother. Not that that means you're all old, but it means that we respect you. And we should look upon ladies. Unlike oftentimes in this modern world, men are kind of raised to see women as objects of exploitation, which is a gross violation of spiritual principles. We should actually learn to see ladies out of respect. And even sociologists study family structures. They say that within the family, and we're all so much benefited from our family structure, the mother of the family is often the one that is the glue that pulls it all together. And especially with spiritual life, I know many of you that I've talked about this previously, oftentimes if the mother is religious or spiritual, the whole family is spiritual. And even if some of the elders in the family are not, if the mom is, then she creates that mood. So thank you, moms. We appreciate that. And please understand your duty is a very important one. Sometimes you may run into some obstacles, as we all do in this material world, but know that actually Krishna very much appreciates what you do, and you should do it to the best of your ability in a humble mood, but determined. Humility doesn't say no determination. Humility means you're humble, but you're determined. So that's very, very important. So in this verse, it's a very important verse. And of course, I want to thank everybody for coming. Gentlemen, don't think you're not welcome, because we especially appreciated the mothers today. We're also glad that you're here today, too. I thought of this verse in particular because I'm going to speak a little bit about His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. And he, as I mentioned, passed away recently, and they just had this special event in Washington, D.C. in Potomac just earlier today. This verse reminds us his leadership in ISKCON reminds us of the importance of leadership and good association for all of us. And of course, this verse particularly highlights that, so I wanted to talk about it. So in the world today, the fact is, people are really confused. They may not admit they're confused, but they're very confused. Because people, as Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam, when people lack an ultimate goal, they're not sure what to do, and they often do contradictory things. And we see in the society today, they often do self-destructive things. I was recently traveling, I think, going to Philadelphia. I was noticing some billboards, because those are kind of a taste of what the culture is like. And I was noticing one billboard as we pulled into town that actually there were 3 in a row. One was advertising intoxication, one was advertising meat eating, and one was advertising gambling. No illicit sex on those 3. It happened by chance. But I was saying this is what they're advertising, this is what they're promoting that people should do. And because people, oh, thank you for turning that up. Because there's a lack of people understanding what actually will make us peaceful and happy and satisfied, because people aren't getting in touch with that. Even though there's so much material opulence, people are angry and they're frustrated, and they take it out on each other. You know, I comment a lot when I give classes these days about, like, you just to drive between D.C. and Baltimore, you're taking your life in your hands. And at least 3 or 4 people just zoomed by, and I wasn't going even like the speed limit. I'm going like 10 miles over the speed limit just so they don't run you over. But then they go zoom, zoom, just, and you think that these are people that clearly don't understand the purpose of life. Because if they did, they would be realizing how fortunate every minute they have, and they wouldn't take a risk the way they do. Of course, we know just to stop at a stoplight and go when it turns green, that's a risk, the way the world is. But especially to put themselves at such risk in the way they're driving. And like I mentioned, that see a sign advertising gambling. I was recently somewhere, big billboard, big sign, come and gamble, and showed young people smiling and happy, and, you know, the wheel turning around as if they win every time. And then like a quarter mile down the road, there was one of those big signs for like 1-800-GAMBLER. If you're addicted, call us, we'll help you. You know, so how can you not be confused? You're telling me to do this, but then the next minute you're telling me it could ruin your life. It's like on cigarettes these days, it's been there for years. They have to have warnings on the side label. And I stopped on the way to India, I think a few years ago, some Middle Eastern country, and apparently they have even stronger laws, big signs, you know. This product causes cancer. This product can kill you, you know. And people are, but it's right in front of the store. It's like, why they got it in the front of the store? Because they're selling a lot of them. So it's right there, you know. So they're thinking, even Prabhupada, one time he saw an ad or somebody mentioned or somebody, Prabhupada was commenting on the foolishness of modern society. He said because they smoke cigarettes, which are hot, and they call it cool. Right? I don't know if they still have that brand, but it was a very popular brand in the past. So you're smoking fire, Prabhupada said, but you're calling it cool. So how can people not be confused? So it's a fact, many leaders today, they're misleading people, you know, because they're encouraging people that if that materialistic success in itself can make you happy, and that's actually a positive thing. Even, you know, they talk about how's the country doing. Generally, they talk about the gross national product, right? They talk about the economic factors. They talk about someone maybe win an election because the economy is good, or lose the election because the economy is not so good, right? Like now, it's all about what's going to happen in November, and are they going to get inflation under control? Because if they do, okay, we'll vote that guy again. If they don't, oh, we need somebody else, right? Very few times are they really talking about how are people doing as far as the more important goals in life. So in the Gita, and it's actually so many spiritual traditions in the world, but we're rooted in the Gita. It explains that the real goal of life is self-realization. Understand, be able to ask questions and find answers. Who am I in the first place? You know, we take birth in a particular family, in a particular place, right? Like you fill out the forms. What's your name? What's your date of birth? What's your father's name? Where were you born? Okay, those are all external things. They don't really explain who am I on the inside. Or where did I come from? Okay, you may say, well, that's who I am. Why are you, whatever, Raj, born in Maharashtra to this father? Why? Why'd you take birth there? Why was somebody born in a rich family, someone else was born in a poor family? Someone is born in a family with a very nice father, someone else is born in the family of a father who's not very nice. Somebody is born with so many educational opportunities, somebody else doesn't have many educational. Why? You know? Prabhupada says a thoughtful person, when they look up in the sky these days, of course these days, if we live in the cities, you just see the reflection of the lights, right? But if you go out in the country, like these guys are from Florida, right? You go out in the country and you see, it's amazing how many stars there are in the sky. Just like the last few days, right? Because some solar flares, all the northern lights are being seen further south. Phenomenal, amazing what's going on out there. So Prabhupada explains, and the Vedas explain, an intelligent person asks, what's out there? And who am I in relationship to all of that? And then an intelligent person has to ask, because we all know this is a difficult life. You know, people come into our lives, people go, there's disease, there's death, As I said, people come and they go. Some we, lose our grandparents, lose our parents at some point. Sometimes lose a brother or a sister, or sometimes a child may die. So and so much suffering is there. We lose a job, right? All of a sudden you're put in so much distress. Or you get transferred to the other side of the country. I know some of you maybe had the experience. The company says, we'd like to keep you if, right? It's going to be whatever, 20% decrease in money, and you're going to have to move across the country, and that's painful. That's very painful. Or even if things are going nicely, we live near a new subdivision, and like to walk through there sometimes just to get some exercise. And they're brand new houses, and they're digging some kind of ditch between the houses and putting pipes in. And I'm just thinking, okay, something's leaking in all of these houses. Somebody had to complain. Somebody had to argue with the developer, the real estate agent, the local association to force somebody, hopefully, that they should pay to get it fixed. And they're brand new homes. Just like that's suffering. There's misery in those people's minds. I just bought this house, and already, like a year later, I'm having to fix things or complain about it so other people fix it. So an intelligent person, a thoughtful person, is supposed to think about these kind of questions and be asking, what is the real goal? As the Vedas explain it, Tato Brahma Jignasa. Having acquired the human form of life, it's time to inquire into the absolute truth, the ultimate goal. So it's explained here that real leaders, they help us ask about what the real goal is and how we can live in such a way that we can achieve that, and how we can actually not just seek materialistic benefits, but how we can actually seek benefits that will be helpful for us in this life and in the future. And if we don't do that, Prabhupada would often comment on his lectures that it's simply a situation of the blind leading the blind, which is a heavy condemnation. And we don't like to be critical in one sense, but at the same time, like it says, you call a spade a spade. And when you see statistics like the amount of depression in the world and the amount of suicides in the world and alcoholism in the world and different addictions, and there's definitely something very wrong in the midst of the most affluent country in the world. So if being affluent means all these things will bring us satisfaction, then naturally people are going to be happier. And if they're not, there's something wrong with the formula. It's a simple mathematical formula. If having opulence makes you happy, well, then as one goes up, so the other should. If they don't go up, there's something wrong in the formula. So, therefore, in the Gita, Krishna says that instead of everything that we do, we're seeking so much material benefit, we should actually try to please Him. We should try to serve Him. He says, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as any austerities you perform, do that unto me. So we might think, well, geez, I mean, who's Krishna? And why do I want to work for that guy? Sometimes when they show pictures of Krishna, like in a book or something to people, and people will comment, who's the blue girl? Because they don't know who Krishna is. Who's the blue? Who's the blue? Who's the girl and why is she blue? Right? Because they don't so much. So why serve Krishna? Why even be a servant? I mean, it's one thing. Come to the temple, have a nice kirtan, eat a little prasadam, hang out with some nice people. That's okay. But this idea of surrendering to Krishna, that's like, I don't know about that part. I think I've maybe told the story here once before. I was in Denver a couple years ago, and Sunday Feast Kirtan, and there was a very wonderful kirtan. I was noticing some people were very enthusiastic, and I sat down to next to one young woman who was participating in the kirtan, and I was telling her much. I really noticed she loved the kirtan. She said, yeah, it's great. And she's explaining she'd been coming for so many months, and she liked the kirtan. So I just did kind of the natural thing, and the next step, made some comment about how, one reason we like the kirtan, it's actually spiritual sound. It's not different from God. And she immediately interrupted me and said, I don't believe in God. I was thinking, well, wait a minute. You're coming to the Hare Krishna temple. You love chanting God's names, but you don't believe in God. It was like, okay, I could immediately understand. Back off on this angle. That's fine. Just keep coming and keep chanting. Everything's fine. But she's not the only one. A lot of people, when I first came to the temple, it was like, I don't really want to hear about God. Self-realization, yeah, meditation, yeah, yoga, okay, those are fine. But God? But isn't he that old guy up there, at least according to Western ideas, right? He's some old person judging you, that this and that. And you know, in the Hindu concept, there's like so many gods, it's kind of confusing. And oftentimes I was speaking with some members of our congregation in Philadelphia the other week, and they were saying they felt they've been kind of raised to think, you know, you worship this God on Monday, and this God on Tuesday, and this God on Wednesday, and this one on Thursday. And they used the word, they said it's all transactional. I do some puja, you give me, you know, I give you a little something, you give me a little something. Dear God, I want to pass my test. You know, here's a few rupees, do what you can for me. Right? I like a promotion like that. So different concepts. You know, he's this big guy who scares us to death, or could be one of many people who's just kind of doing business with us. That's not the God as described in the Gita. In the Gita, it describes that actually Krishna is the all-attractive person and our best friend. We're all looking for friends because friends are people that have our best interest in mind. And a really good friend is a friend that even sometimes you have a bad day, or you're not particularly in a good mood, or maybe you're not even particularly nice to them, or maybe you can be not nice to them, but they let it go because they still like you, they love you, you're my friend through thick and thin, and they're not going to turn on you because of some short-term difficulty. So that's, in a brief way, some of the descriptions of understanding who a Christian is. But this idea of being a servant, who wants to be a servant, right? In this world, we all kind of want to be the master. We want to have like the biggest room in the office, or we want to have the room with the window. I know sometimes I just went to the hospital the other day, and I had to have a blood test, right, just annual checkup. And I always try to think of something to say that start a conversation. So I said, oh, you have a nice position here because you have a window. And she said, and a wall, too. Not everybody had a wall. Some were kind of like in the middle room. So she had a window and she had a wall. So I was complimenting her. This is great. You got a window and a wall. Because it's a fact. Sometimes people, they work in a cubicle. There's no sun. There's no light. There's no window. There's no air. There's nothing. So she had a relatively nice situation. But whatever our situation might be, the Bhagavatam especially, and the Gita, emphasizes something that if we think about it, we have to admit it's true. Whether we want it or not, we're always a servant. We're kind of trained to think, no, you become the master. No, but you're always a servant. You're always a servant. You're serving your boss, right? Most of us have a boss, right? If you have your own company, you're serving your customers or your clients, because if they turn you down, if they go to somebody else and you're out of business. We all have, we have the country, right? Right now it's a little peaceful here, relatively speaking. But when I grew up, you get a certain letter in the mail that says you are drafted. You will serve. You have a choice to put your life on the line or to leave the country. Perhaps some people did that in my generation. Or to perhaps, to go serve and take a chance at dying. That's the master. The master calls, you go. The boss calls and says, hey, I know you had something special happen this weekend, but I got a project for you. I need it done by Monday morning. You have a choice, right? You can do it by Monday morning, or you can find a new boss who may tell you that they need it Sunday night rather than Monday morning. So that's always the risk. And some of us may say, well, no, I don't serve any of these things. I'm independent. I'm independently wealthy, or I retired early, or I'm my own man, I'm my own woman, or whatever. The Vedas say, no, we're serving our stomach. We think we're the master. Just stop eating for 3 days. See if we're the master. Or even something simple. Sometimes people say, I'm God, I'm the controller. So we would naturally say, okay, well then just don't blink your eyes for 10 minutes. We can't even do that. Don't sleep for 4 days. We can't do that. We're not in control. We're servants. We're serving the body. We're serving other people. And it's described that those different masters, they actually don't have our best interest in mind. The boss, we may have the best boss in the world, but push comes to shove, the boss may have to fire us someday. We may have what we think is a really cushy job. The economy changes and that job can disappear. We may work for a particular, country, but, we hear oftentimes people that give their lives for their country and something changes and somebody cheats them or just something goes wrong and they lose their status. So the Bhagavatam explains, and Krishna explains, that actually we should try to serve Krishna because he's described as being our best friend. And actually, he's the only one that can completely reciprocate with us. God, whatever we like, Krishna, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, Buddha, so many names, Rama, Nrsimha. Lord is described as unlimited names. whatever we're most comfortable with. But Krishna is the person that can actually reciprocate with us. And again, if we're a little honest and look into our hearts, we're all looking to find some kind of relationship with somebody who can actually perfectly reciprocate with me, somebody who knows my shortcomings, who knows my strengths, who encourages me when I need encouragement, who, just what we mentioned earlier, you know, a best friend in this world. But the best friends in this world, they also leave us. You know, sometimes it's like your best friend, you make a commitment. That's one funeral I'm going to go to. I'm going to go to their funeral. And you know darn well they're going to go to yours. But they can't stop your death. They can stop time. But Krishna has complete control over these things. And just like now, it's springtime. It's been raining so much here. That's, you know, some ways disadvantages, wet May and all that. But it really makes us think, if we open our eyes a little bit. I was listening to a lecture this morning by Srila Prabhupada. He was talking about the end of this age, how it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, and how the rivers and the lakes are going to dry up, you know, hopefully way down the road. But it makes you think, without the rain, where would we be? So where does the rain come from? I mean, science can explain a few things, but ultimately it always boils down to we don't know why that happens. You know, where does the rain come from? How miraculous is it that the rain, I was watching this morning, there's a little pond I like to walk around in Chanjapa, and it was wet, so as you walk around the pond, the sun's out, coming through the clouds, and it starts to evaporate. And I was just thinking, what a miracle this is. There's water on the ground, it leaves the dirt behind, it evaporates into the air somehow, I can't see it, it becomes a cloud, and somehow is transported miles, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles, and drops the water again. And I heard a lecture one time, Prabhupada was saying about how Krishna's plan, the oceans are full of salt, so the water stays pure. But then Krishna evaporates the water from the oceans, turns it into a cloud, goes over the land and drops the water. Where would we be without the water? You know? Or you look and you see like some dirt, right? Somebody brought a bucket of dirt and you say, what are you doing? They threw it on the ground. Get that dirt out of here. That dirt keeps us alive. Because that dirt, somebody puts a seed in it, or nature just puts a seed. That's where it all comes. Like we, right? Most of us are vegetarians, not too many vegans, maybe a few. So we drink milk. Where's the milk come from? I mean, the cow eats grass. I mean, what an amazing system. The cow eats grass. Grass. How valuable is grass to us? No value. None. I mean, okay. If you're selling your house, it's good to have a nice lawn, right? Other than that, it has no value. The cow eats grass and miraculously creates milk, which creates butter, which creates ghee, which creates cream, which creates, you know, so many things. So, and the air. I was, again, nature, watching turtles in the pond. You know, they dive down. I looked up a month or so ago. Some turtles, if I remember correctly, they can like go into water for a week or weeks at a time. And I was thinking, if you put me underwater, within 3 minutes, I'm dead. So how dependent we are on the air. So who provided the air? Now, an atheistic person will say, well, it's all by chance, and that's a whole other discussion. But someone who's a little theistic, a little thoughtful, not that there aren't thoughtful atheists, but they haven't thought deeply enough, we would say, that if we're a little thoughtful, we can see it's so complicated. There has to be some intelligence there. There's obviously some designer there. Again, not too much nature, but look out the window this morning. There's a deer walking by, and then there's a squirrel. So the squirrel is eating the nuts, which are pretty useless to us, which are produced by the tree. That's how they make more trees, but they produce thousands more than they need to. So, and therefore, by the squirrels have food. The squirrels do this and that. You know, the birds eat the seeds. They fly away. They pass through their system and carry the seeds around. It's phenomenal how complex it is. It's phenomenal how complex it is. Obviously, intelligent designer. So again, intelligent person should try to understand who's behind this all. And Krishna says, I am. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. So understanding his position, his situation, how many gifts he's given us. Therefore, it's described that good leaders, whether it's a mother or a father or an executive head or the king or the president or the teachers, they should help us in this inquiry. They should help us down a path, as is described, at least in our tradition, that one, to understand these deeper truths, we have to purify our consciousness of materialistic desires, of grossly harmful materialistic activities. To do that, we need leaders. We need leaders, just like kids. You know, so many of you have little kids. You know, you create a nice environment, bring your kids to the temple so they have fun and they're happy here. That's a beautiful leadership role, because as they grow up and when they grow up, they'll still want to come to the temple because they'll have good memories of the temple. But look at the society that's out there today. Who's built more playgrounds, the government or McDonald's or the school system, right? School systems build playgrounds. They know they're good for kids. Governments build playgrounds because they know that people will be peaceful if you have playgrounds. Why does McDonald's build playgrounds? Oh, it definitely helps them. It is not a selfless act, because they know the kids tell their mom and dad, let's go to McDonald's so I can play. And then they plant memories in the kids. So when they grow up, they think, oh, we always went with mom and dad to McDonald's. I'm going to have to take my family to McDonald's. While they're at McDonald's, what are they doing? They're eating a horrible thing in so many ways. It's horrible for the animals, obviously. It's horrible for the environment. It's horrible for their health. It's horrible for their consciousness. It ruins the environment in terms of water consumption, all those things. But they're leading people. You could even say they're marketing that way. You could even say they are manipulating in that way. Because they understand people are looking for leadership. People are looking for some guidance where I can find some happiness. So they're told, yeah, I mean, come on, talk about a twist of words. Happy meal. It's happy meal for the people that are selling it to you, who aren't even people anymore because they don't even employ anybody. It's all a machine because they want to get rid of their workers because that's too much a waste of money, right? It's not happy for the animals. It's not happy for the environment. But they use kind of manipulation, happy meal. So Krishna is saying, don't be manipulated like that. We need real leaders. So we know that Krishna was that kind of a leader because he himself came here to teach by example. He says in the Gita, if I didn't act properly, the whole world would be ruined because they'd follow my footsteps. And guru, one who's a spiritual teacher, means one who teaches by example. Lord Chaitanya came, whole nother talk, but Lord Chaitanya came, just heard Prabhupada repeating this again in a lecture yesterday. Lord Chaitanya came to teach by example how to be devotees. In case we didn't get the message, Krishna was here, said, do it like this. In case we didn't understand, Lord Chaitanya came back, said, no, here's the details, how you practice bhakti. And then Lord Chaitanya sent Srila Prabhupada all around the world, miraculous, what he achieved in 11 years. And just briefly, an appreciation for his contributions, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj was one of the most senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada. He came in 1968, became a leader within the movement very, very shortly. He was on the governing body commission. He was what's the term is a BBT trustee. He was one of the few people to oversee the global production of Srila Prabhupada's books. His son and I told this little story a couple places, but I personally had experience. He was such a wonderful friend and leader. In Mayapur, he had a room kind of at the end of a long hallway, and sometimes after a long day of meetings, and sometimes these Mayapur meetings, you go, like the meetings are from 10 to 1, 3 to 6 or something, but before it starts, there's a 7 a.m. meeting, and then there's an 8 a.m. meeting, and then you have a scheduled meeting during breakfast, and then you go to the meeting, and then you have a lunch meeting, and then the afternoon scheduled meetings till about 8 to 8:30 night. And once in a while, they have to go meet Gopal Krishna Maharaj about something. So I'd like come around the corner in the hallway room. There'd be like about as many people as are sitting here now waiting to see him. And I'd kind of like work my way through because I had an appointment, and then meet with him for 20, 30 minutes. And all those people would be out and say, Maharaj, who are all those people? And why are they blocking your hallway? You know, I asked that the first time, and every other time I knew why they were there. They were there to meet him. And he would, as I would leave, they'd usher in the next group of 6 or 8 or 10 people. I don't know how late they would stay. I've heard sometimes 10, 11 o'clock. And the very next morning, you come into the temple for Mangala Artik at 4:30. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, every single morning till the very last few months of his physical presence. He's doing the artik, which means he was there at 3:30, 3:45, something like that, 4 o'clock to get it ready. So he was there for everybody. So setting that kind of wonderful sadhana. And I was talking with a woman leader, Vrinda, in Canada, was explaining her memory that one time Gopal Krishna Maharaj had come to give a meeting in Toronto, and they'd invited all of his disciples and others to come and see him. And she said the temple room was packed. And as he was sitting down, he was looking around the room, and he was saying, but where is so-and-so? Where is so-and-so? She said 3 people. Like, there's a room full of people, and he recognized everybody and noticed that 3 of them, by name, weren't there. So that type of concern for others. And other people were, out of appreciation, so many memorial services going on for him. Many people noting how he was famous for, like, I remember a few times going to Delhi, which was his home base, and I'd kind of land and go in my room or whatever, and I get a phone call. And it was Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who knew you were coming, knew you arrived, and wanted to make sure everything was okay. He's like, Maharaj, you have a lot of very important things to look after. You don't have 5 minutes to waste calling me. But he would do that. And it wasn't just me, because so many other people talked about that experience with him. So his kind and compassionate way towards others. And he was so much very, very, very hardworking and so dedicated to the mission of Srila Prabhupada. One final story that maybe many of you have read. Apparently some of Maharaj's friends and admirers and disciples had purchased a large piece of land next to the ISKCON property in Vrindavan, and they'd hoped Maharaj would have his memorial. It's traditional that a sannyasi, when they pass away, there's a memorial. Generally in ISKCON, they're reasonably modest structures. And there's a couple places in Mayapur and Vrindavan, a few different places with those samadhi. So these disciples said, we bought this big piece of land and we want to spend a lot of money by big samadhi. And as I heard the story, he said, my whole life I've been a Prabhupada man. Why after I leave would you want to put my body in a place that's not Prabhupada's place? So they're building a typical modest kind of samadhi for him on the land that was owned by Srila Prabhupada. And I heard just today that one of the devotees was reading Maharaj's kind of like 10 instructions to his disciples. And they were all, chant Hare Krishna, work within ISKCON, work under the GBC, work in a cooperative way. Every single one of them was just cooperate together, which really is a beautiful example, I'm sure, exactly what Srila Prabhupada would want his disciples to do and to hear about. So I mentioned that as such an example of a wonderful leader, as Krishna here is saying, we need leaders to follow. Gopal Krishna Maharaj was such a leader. And end with this thought. We shouldn't think when we read this verse that it's talking about the past, leaders in the past, or it's talking about other people, those leaders and those leaders and those leaders. But actually, it's also Krishna explaining about the present moment and also the future. People in the present moment need leaders, not just when Krishna was here or Lord Chaitanya was here or Srila Prabhupada was here, but they need leadership now. They need people to guide them. And they're going to need people in the future. So for those of you here that are mothers, for those of you here that are fathers, I don't think there's any kings in the room. If there was, sorry, I didn't properly honor you. But there may be some future executive head of states. That's the term that Prabhupada uses in his purport. Teachers, maybe some teachers here. We all have that role to actually, this is the point I want to end with. It's not that other people should become leaders. We should be leaders. Because again, society at large is pretty confused. And there's a lot of people doing things that are really self-destructive and socially destructive things. So we need to set example. We have children, we need to set the example. If we have employees, we need to set the example. If we have peers in the office or the workplace, we need to set an example. And this is really the parampara that's talked about. It's not just the big acharyas, but that each of us in our practice of Krishna consciousness, we become an example. We take on that responsibility. And it's described elsewhere in the Bhagavatam that if we feel any sense of gratitude to Krishna for the sun and the rain and the stars and the grass and the trees and the fruit and the milk and everything else that he gives us, if we feel any sense of gratitude, even to our own leaders, even our mother and father and a boss that was a good boss and led us a little bit down the right path, or a teacher that taught us some good character. And especially to our spiritual preceptors. If we feel some sense of gratitude, described in the Srimad Bhagavatam in a beautiful purport, Prabhupada said the only way, the best way to repay that debt is ourselves to set an example and try to teach others as best we can. It's a beautiful system. We get mercy, we give mercy. We get grace, we give grace. We get knowledge, we give knowledge. So, I hear the bell ringing. No time for questions? They can close the curtain and we can take questions. Okay, good. Okay. Jai. Shishi Radhamadava ki. Jagannath Baladev Subhadramanani ki. Shishi Gonitai ki. This is very good. The curtains are closed. So this way, if I don't know the answer, I won't be embarrassed in front of the deities. Thank you for arranging that, Leela Madhava. I see a hand up. Yeah, there goes the microphone, too. Now,
Thank you
just
for
because the curtain's closed, don't give me the tough questions, okay?
Thank you for the lecture. I was listening to your lecture. It was beautiful. There's one question I have that gets asked to me many times by my non-Krishna consciousness friends. Why are we drinking milk? Because in this era, if you look at the farmhouses, the cows are artificially propelled to produce more milk than their natural ability. Does that imply that we should not be drinking milk?
Yeah, a couple thoughts. More than that, 99.99% of those cows, when they stop giving milk, they're going to slaughter them. Which is, what an atrocious thing to do. So one, it's amazing that you have such thoughtful, non-Krishna conscious friends. They're pretty socially conscious to ask that question. I thought you were gonna say, like, why don't we drink? Or something like that. But like, why don't we drink milk? So one, they're very thoughtful friends to be thinking like that. Two, a lot of Hare Krishna devotees are vegan because of that very reason, because the cows are mistreated. Three, Prabhupada really emphasized we should create Krishna conscious farms where we protect cows from their birth until their natural death, and we can take the milk from the cows because they're not being abused. That it's actually, I've also heard from, I'm not a cow herder, but devotees that take care of cows, the mother cow actually produces far more milk than the calf can drink. If the calf was to drink all the milk produced by the mother calf, then the calf would get sick. So it's like nature's arrangement. The cow produces too much milk. But we should protect those cows. Like, I don't know if we have that arrangement here, but there's a farm, Gita Nagari, in Pennsylvania, and there's devotees that deliver milk to some of the different temples. So at least the deities get only milk from protected cows. And I know in Washington, a lot of our congregational members, they buy some of that milk that comes on a regular basis. So we're trying to do the very best we can. Some devotees make the personal decision, until the system's fixed, let me be vegan. Some devotees make the personal conviction, let me open a farm that protects cows, or go live in a farm that protects cows. And so those are some of the answers.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a
Hari
great lecture. So my question, you talked about leadership. How can we lead in this day and age, especially amongst our spiritual communities? How can we lead without developing an ego, or not being overtaken by our ego that I'm a leader, or I'm doing this, or sometimes our ego gets in the way during our leaderships.
Sometimes.
Most of the times.
Another great question. A few things. There's a wonderful story with Prabhupada and Tamal Krishna. Maybe he wasn't yet Maharaj. He had been asked to be the president or the temple commander in Los Angeles. And he asked Prabhupada the same question. How do I take on this leadership role? I'm afraid I'm going to get proud or something. I think maybe your mic's making some feedback or something. Maybe I'll get proud. So Prabhupada kind of answered him, and I'll paraphrase. Prabhupada said, you have to see things like this. And then he said, there's a very large universe. Within that universe, there's one planet, Earth. And within that one planet, Earth, there's 7 continents. Within one of those continents, there's North America. Within North America, United States, there's so many states. Within all those states, there's one California. Within California, there's one city, Los Angeles. Within Los Angeles, there's hundreds or thousands of streets. We're sitting on one, which was, I think, La Cienega at that day. On the street of La Cienega Boulevard, there's many, many houses. In this one house, you, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, will be the temple commander. Your position is not so big. Like, how can you be proud? So we keep things in perspective. That's very, very helpful. And we always, with any kind of leadership role, we have to, so many answers to that question. We should always pray to Krishna to help us remain humble. Lord Brahma prayed, Krishna, I'm afraid of having this role. How am I not going to get? He created the universe, to understand. Secondary creator. He had the same fear. We see Prabhupada so many times. One of these days, somebody will do a PhD research and explain. How many times did Prabhupada say, I have no credit. My only credit is I executed the order of my spiritual master. My only credit is I didn't add anything. My only credit is I presented Bhagavad Gita as it is. So very much Prabhupada was in that mood. Again, he's setting the leadership role for ourselves. The other thing very important, we have to be open for criticism and critique. Sometimes we think, well, I'm a leader, nobody can critique me. We should really think, no, I'm a leader, I'm open to more critique. Otherwise, who's going to keep me on the narrow path if I shut down? And there's a lot of studies, healthy, especially religious communities. When you create an environment where the leadership cannot take any kind of criticism or feedback, you're in serious potential problem for abuse, serious potential in any situation, but especially in religious communities, because the leadership means, we're trying to help you understand God. It's not just how to make money. Like God is behind me, so you better watch your step. That can be terribly manipulative in the future. So that's important. Another thing is we need to make sure that we have good association, peer association. There's a seminar now. If you become a guru in ISKCON, you have to take a seminar beforehand, and that course is probably going to expand the more and more we learn about the potential problems and the opportunities. But one of the things they talk about in that seminar is if you imagine like a pole, as you work your way up the hierarchy in any kind of community organization, the higher up you get, the less people there are above you. And there's a tendency to think that, the people down below we're not supposed to critique, or certainly, guru, there's that sense of awe and veneration, whatever. So you must have peer association extremely as you go up. Because otherwise, and I heard one of the devotees who's a guru, who's a Grihastha guru, was explaining recently, said, it's much better to be Grihastha guru than a sannyasi guru. He said, because if you're a sannyasi guru, everybody bows down and they kind of like tell you how wonderful you are. And he said, if you're a Grihastha guru, you go home after talking to your disciples, whatever, and your wife says, I hope you had a nice time, but it's your turn to clean the dishes. So, it's like, keeps you normal, So whatever our ashram is, that kind of association is really important. And we have to be able to remind each other like that. Krishna says in the Gita, the first principle of knowledge is humility. So if we lose that, we're in big trouble. So we have to keep reminding each other. So you should help me develop or maintain some level of humility. I should help you maintain some humility, because that's what we need to assist each other. And then one other thing I'll mention that sometimes it's interesting too, because Krishna will show us. Like you're giving a class, and then, some 6-year-old at the end of the class will raise their hand and say, I think you quoted the wrong verse, or you pronounced the Sanskrit wrong, or you're leading some kirtan and your mind goes blank, you don't remember what the next line is, and you realize, okay, you're the boss, you're in charge. I was getting so proud. Oh, everyone, look how they're loving my kirtan. Poof, no more kirtan. And maybe they think you're in deep meditation, you're trying to remember the words, right? So those kind of things happen too. But that's a good question. Always keep asking that question, and you'll be protected.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class. I was kind of wondering, I hear a lot that we should, we should be leaders, we should aspire to be leaders in our communities and things like that. And sometimes it gets intimidating when we hear about, how Gopal Krishna Maharaj would stay up until 11 and then wake up at 3, or we hear like kind of the expectations
Prabhupada would
of a
stay
leader.
up till 12 and get up at 2, right?
Yeah, so it can seem intimidating or daunting, or that there's going to be a lot of sacrifice involved. So I guess how can we overcome that fear, or is that fear necessary?
These are really good questions. That's a wonderful question. First of all, as explained, we should never imitate. Because you imitate somebody that you don't have that level of realization or a physical, even stamina, then you'll have a crisis. They talk about, you've heard like the comfort zone. People just kind of kick back, take it easy. Then there's the stretch zone, which means you're pushing yourself a little bit. And then there's the panic zone. I'm just, okay. When I was a Brahmin, how old are you? Okay, when I was about your age, somebody got the idea that Prabhupada had mentioned in some lecture that devotees should eat 6 chickpeas a day. So for a while, the breakfast would come around. It wasn't all we ate, but somehow 6, chickpeas were good for you. And somebody heard 6. That meant 6, not 5, and not 7. That's how it was interpreted. So the spoon would come around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? If you got more than 6, you have to give one to the person next to you, because like that. So that was kind of an immature imitation of what we thought the instruction was. So I think a critical thing is we should always ask, what's the principle behind this? And it may be different for different people. Let's say the principle is simple living, high thinking, okay? You're a 19-year-old brahmachari. If you see the way Ambarish Prabhu, who's the great-grandson of Henry Ford, he lives a pretty affluent life compared to what you're supposed to do. But compared to other, multi-millionaires, his lifestyle is very simple. Because of his social situation and status, there's certain things he needs to do. He can't ride to work in a bicycle. He's Henry Ford's great-grandson, etc. So understand what's the principle. So what's the principle? The principle is I should learn to try to give as much as I can to Krishna, to try to live simply, but don't artificially imitate. One of the biggest problems that ISKCON had in its early pioneer days was we artificially imitated. And not only that, even worse, we expected imitation of others. So even if I can't do it, you should do it. So maybe we had things like, brahmachari leaders telling the brahmacharis, like, don't eat any sweets until you all go to bed, and then your brahmachari leader, like, hits the maha cabinet. Because he knows what he needs, even though he's telling you. So, we have to be very careful of that. So the main thing, I think, is to understand what's the principle behind it, and how do I apply that to me. For example, we're supposed no meeting, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. Sometimes people say no frivolous sports. Gambling is a frivolous sport, they'll say, right? It's okay. So that doesn't mean as a brahmachari that you can't sometimes go out and get some fresh air and maybe wrestle with your buddies. It's a kind of a natural thing. He's looking at you like, I don't know if he was like a dangerous wrestler or what, Okay. And especially in the role of parents, like we say, no frivolous sports. Well, if you're a parent, you have to have fun with your kids. Otherwise, your kids will grow up and they're not happy with you. Now, of course, we Christianize that, play drum and kartals and family get-togethers, but we do other stuff too. If children grow up in a family and the family's like, we don't take vacations because that's Maya. Well, it's not Maya if you're a family with kids. You got to take your kids down and have fun and go swimming and walk through the woods and do kind of stuff that kids like to do. And while you're there, you say, hey, let's have a kirtan. And before you eat dinner, which, we should all be eating vegetarian food, then you offer it to Krishna with love and devotion, and the kids learn the prayers. And, okay, they're still making noises when you're trying to offer the prayers, and kids will be kids. But still, they grow up knowing that I don't eat anything that was not offered to Krishna. Like, give an example, Radhika Raman Prabhu, who's a well-known, professor, senior devotee, Professor Ravi Gupta, very, very, very serious devotee. And his whole family grew up going to, like, national parks. I don't know if he's got, like, a book, right, with all the stamps of the national parks. You got to go to the Smoky Mountain National Park and this national park, and not Maya for them. He grew up with appreciation for nature. But whose nature? Krishna's nature. So we always make sure we add Krishna. Is that okay? Yeah. Always ask yourself, what's the principle and how can it apply to me? Right? Like for me, like I'm hearing these stories of Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Like, I couldn't live like that. Way too austere for me. I couldn't do it. If I just tried to get that little bit of as little sleep as he got, within a few days, I'm a wreck. I can push it some. I can be in the stretch zone, but not the panic zone. And you're sitting in some meeting, people want to ask your opinion on something. It's like, what? You know, your brain gets dull. So you need to do what you need to do. You know, maybe some of your colleagues can get by with six chickpeas, but maybe you need 10. That's okay. At least 7 or 8 is okay. Okay? We had one more? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for this amazing lecture. Actually, this question is from my wife. She asked me that question, like, as we all discuss.
Is she here?
She's not here today, actually.
Okay.
But
That way you don't have to tell her the answer, just in case. If you don't like the answer, we're going to know that you know.
Right.
Okay. Anybody know his wife? Raise your hand if you know his wife.
No.
Oh, okay. You're safe then. It may not make it back to her.
So basically, like as we discussed, like as Krishna is our friend, or I'll say as our parents, like very close to us in a way, then why do we need to enchant his name so much? Like I can ask anything to my friend very directly whenever I need, once in 2 months, once in 6 months. I can talk to my parents when I need, and when they need me, yes, definitely. So why do we need to enchant his name so much, so often?
These are great questions. Something in the air around Baltimore these days. Everyone's brain is very sharply attuned or something. That's a very deep theological question. Our understanding that at the root core of our existence in the material world, we are first and foremost individual souls who have an eternal relationship with Krishna. We chose to separate ourselves from Krishna. That's why Prabhupada talks about back to Godhead. We want to go back to Godhead. So it's described, we are the same quality as Krishna, but different quantity. He's unlimited, we are infinitesimal spirit soul. But we do have free will. We have our desire. And as individual souls, we can desire to be with Krishna or be desired to be separate from Krishna. At some point in the past, immeasurable time in the past, we chose to want to live separately from Krishna, so we came here. So he's created this whole world. If you don't want to see him in the sun, in the clouds, in the rain, there's so many ideas to convince you that, well, there's an explanation of it all. You know, evolution explains everything, right? Or so many different things to convince yourself there's no God. He's created that design. So us. So he's hiding, okay? When we come to that stage of life, sometimes after millions of births, it describes in the scripture, where we realize something is wrong. I'm not happy here. Everything I try doesn't work. Why? And we start thinking maybe there's some other reason. Maybe there's another home. Maybe there's another place. And we we come in contact, because Krishna's in our heart. He puts in contact with different spiritual people and spiritual teachers, and they help us understand, I need to reconnect with Krishna. But I'm the one that told Krishna, go away. Disappear. Get out of my life. I want to go in a place where you're not anywhere to be. So he's hiding. He's actually in our heart described. Nice example from the Upanishads that there's 2 birds in a tree. One bird is enjoying the fruits of the tree, and the other bird is just sitting watching their friend. So we're that bird trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree of material existence. Our friend Krishna, in his form as Paramatma, is there just watching us, waiting for us to turn our attention to him. But he will not force himself upon us. He is so much of a best. Prabhupada says many times, Krishna is so kind. It's a heavy statement. Krishna is so kind, if you want to go to hell, he'll let us go to hell. You know? Like sometimes you think, like, why is so many horrible things going on in the world? Because Krishna gives us free will. I heard a lecture, Prabhupada said, you can do anything you want, but Krishna says there will be a reaction for that. It doesn't mean there's not going to be a reaction. But if you want to do it, you can do it. So our chanting is really calling out to Krishna, dear Lord, oh my Lord, oh energy Lord, please engage me again in your service. I've been serving so many things, I've been seeking so many things, I've been trying to enjoy so many things, but they don't work. So he reciprocates according to the sincerity and intensity of our desire. So it's kind of like we say, hey Krishna, can you help me out? You know, what's that one story? Oh yeah, it's a joke, okay? So a man's driving around and he's late for an appointment. So he getting really desperate. He's really, really desperate because it's a big thing with his boss or potential new job. He can't find a place to park. And he just prays, "Dear God, please, please help me find a parking spot. If you help me find a parking spot, I'll never play the horses again. I won't gamble. I'll stop drinking. I'll stop smoking. Just let me find a parking lot. Please, 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 dear God." And then up in front of him, the clouds, a big cloudy day, the clouds part. And like the sun comes down, like a spotlight, and there's an empty parking spot. And he's amazed. And he looks up and he says, "Dear God, never mind. I found one myself." So, dear Krishna, help me. Hare Krishna once, twice, but then I want to go enjoy the material world. No, we have to convince him. We have to show that we're serious, show that we're concerned. He's not a cheap date. He's got a long, eternal relationship with us. He's waiting for us to turn towards him. Is that okay? Okay. Neela Madhava Prabhu.
Thank you, Anupam Prabhuji, for wonderful class, and I think all the wonderful questions. We're very grateful, Anupam Prabhu. I think this week had been a big shock for our community and many other communities around. And Anupam heard that. He said he has very busy schedule. Last few days we were in Philadelphia, then he went in the morning to Potomac. But he said, "No, I need to be here to make sure I talk to the devotees here." And that's a loving relationship that GBC has. We are very fortunate that he's here and really keeps us in a loving manner. Whenever we have issues, he's always there. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for taking a special time out being here. Hare Krishna. So now we'll have wonderful prasad, and I'd like to thank you, Krishna's devotees. They all went for Harinam with our congregation. It was what a wonderful Harinam it was today. So thank you for coming, folks. Thank you.